So regulatory processes, right, and administrative agencies. This has been a growing part of government. You could argue over the last or the new administration since January that growth has at least been put on hold, perhaps. But up until then, and probably even since then, really, it just continues to grow and become a bigger part of our everyday lives. And why is that? Well, think of the EPA. There's no way that Congress, it's 500, could micromanage, the environment and things that happen within the environment, right? And so they've created agencies then to deal with those things. Okay, and you could argue, effectively in some cases, not so much in other cases, et cetera, et cetera. So. That one up there because the Weather Service is one of those agencies, one that we probably all, even if you go to AccuWeather and it's a private, a lot of their data comes from the government sources, right? The government monitoring stations, satellite data, you name it, right? So yeah, each generation we've seen an increase in the government's influence, and I don't think that is probably going to change. As new problems arise, we create new agencies. We saw new agencies created as a result of the financial crisis. The Consumer Financial Protection Board, came about because of Dodd-Frank. We saw new sub-agencies. Now they're under the HHS, or Health and Human Services, but set up for to regulate Obamacare. And so it's generally increasing. Again, you could argue that we've at least hit the pause button here for a little bit. Regulatory process, right? and this happens at all levels, state, federal. Think in the state, we have our own Department of Environmental Quality. Again, it's a lot of times it duplicates the efforts of the EPA or defers to those, but it gets involved in its own, in state laws and state, regulating of things, maybe around state parks, but state projects, those types of things would be subject to, our Department of Environmental Quality. So what are they? All boards, bureaus, commissions, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll take a look at some of those. Okay. One of the things that some of the things that they do, right? First, they do create and enforce a majority of the business laws or rules, that are said to have the same effect as laws. They provide specificity, so specifics, to rules, to how we go about doing things, OSHA, right? How we, treat our workers, how we protect our workers, et cetera. They provide some expertise. Again, OSHA might be a good example there, but also the Weather Service, things like that. They provide protection. Environmental Protection Agency is what we call it, but there are other agencies then that deal with the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, right? The SEC helps to protect investors from fraudulent investment firms, et cetera. The FDIC obviously insures our deposits and makes sure that banks are safe and sound, et cetera, et cetera. They provide regulation, and again, you'll hear often that this current administration is trying to slow down at least the creation of regulation, and is in fact eliminating some of the regulations that were done under the prior administration or administrations. Could be going back. And they provide services, and those include, again, like the Weather Service. I've always wondered why the IRS, though, the Internal Revenue Service, and what service it actually provides, but I digress. So some examples, right? The Federal Trade Commission, the NLRB, or National Labor Relations Board, the EEOC, on and on and on, and you can kind of look through these. These are just a smattering, okay, just a small number of those that exist. A lot of them start at the department level, right, Health and Human Services, and then you've got the agencies that would exist underneath those. Okay, in our area too, you'd have things like the Farm Safety or Farm Service Agency, okay, which provides both some regulation and some services to farmers. The National National Resource Development, NRDC, gosh, their offices are generally together with the FSA. Protection for resources, oftentimes the farmers and ranchers on private ground. Let's pause there and we'll come back and do a part 4 here in a little bit.